Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Harvest Moon Farm. My name is Mickey, and today we are going to prep for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and so I've got all of my items that I want to prep today. I like to do as much as I can the day before Thanksgiving so that I can spend more time with my family on Thanksgiving and less time having to actually spend time cooking. So the first thing I'm going to do is get started with my pies. So I came home from my conference last week with this terrible head cold, so my voice sounds lovely, so I apologize for that. But I have some pumpkin puree that I have left over from last year. If I need more, I also have some that we made together this year. So I'm going to start with, do you need out? I think the dog needs out. So I'm going to start with what I had left over from last year, and then I have some from this year if we need more. Don't know how much I actually need. So I'm making 3 pumpkin pies, which means I need 3 cans of pumpkin puree, 3 15-ounce cans, which is about 1 and I have to check now, I can't remember. Okay, so it's not quite 2 cups, which is what I thought. So I've got 2 bags here that are 2 cups, pre-measured out 2 cups, and I have one that I just had 1 cup. So I am going to have to go get some of the puree from that we just made a few weeks ago. And I have this in the refrigerator to thaw, but it's still a little bit frozen, but it's not super frozen, so it will be fine. Okay, so to our pumpkin, we need 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. So I used the recipe that was on a can of Kroger brand pumpkin puree from years and years ago. This one uses sweetened condensed milk versus evaporated milk and sugar. Obviously you can use whatever pumpkin recipe you like. This is just the one that I prefer. So I need 3 of these cans of condensed milk. There's 3 cans of the sweetened condensed milk. Now I need 6 eggs, and you want to slightly beat those so that they mix in better. So I'm going to put those into a bowl. All right, so here is egg number 6. And I'm just going to beat these just a little bit with a fork just to kind of break up the yolks. I'll pour those in. And before I go any farther, I need to start preheating my oven. And we need it to start out at 450. Okay, so now we're going to add our spices. So we need 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. So I'm going to use a 1 tablespoon for that. 1.5 teaspoons each of ginger, nutmeg, and salt. And then I have the pumpkin pie spice that we made a couple weeks ago. And I know that it has basically some of the same ingredients as the cinnamon and stuff, but I have always added an extra teaspoon of that as well. And then I need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I'm using my mixer from the weird angle and I don't understand to move that thing. Alright, so I'm just going to turn this on low since the pumpkin is still frozen a little bit. And let that mix. There we go, it's starting to break up the pumpkin now. So there's still some chunks of pumpkin in there that are frozen. So I'm just going to let that sit while I roll out my pie dough and let it fall just a little bit more. I'll mix it really good again. Okay, so I've got 3 of my pie crusts that I made last week. I don't remember when I made them. One day last week, I think, or the week before. Okay, so I'm going to roll out the pie dough that I made a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago. I don't remember honestly when I made these. Alright, here's the first one. So I'm going to get that laid well in my pie plate, and then I'm going to cut off the edges. I'm going to cut off a little bit of the excess. I want to leave some so that I can have a nice little fluting on the edge. But I'm going to cut off some of this because this is too much. So then I'm going to roll the excess under. All around the edge of the pie. And then I like to make my fluting by using a spoon and my 2 fingers. So I push them together like this. So I push the spoon from the outside and squeeze my fingers around the pie dough, and it makes a nice little fluted edge. You guys can see that. It makes it really pretty. Okay, so I'm going to set this one over to the side, and I'm going to roll out these other 2. Actually, before I do that, what I'm going to use this piece that I cut off, I'm going to make some little, I have a leaf cookie cutter, a small one that I'm going to make some little leaves. Then I'm going to cut out some little leaves, and I put those on top of my pumpkin pies just for a little added decoration. Now, someplace I have a whole set, and I have 3 different sizes of this shape, and then I have 3 different sizes each of either 2 or 3 others. And usually I do different ones for each of the pies, but this is the only one I can find. I really need to get all the rest of my stuff put away so that I know where things are. But these will work for today. So I'm just going to cut out several of these and just pop them off to the side here. And I'm sweltering, so I might need to go put on a short sleeve shirt. Oops. Oh, I smashed that one. I'll put it back. Okay. I'm going to go change shirts. Whew. Okay, that's much better. I was really boiling. All right, so let me get going on the next pie crust. Okay, so I have all 3 crusts ready for my pumpkin pies. I'm going to let this mix just another minute and make sure all those pumpkin chunks are broken up. All right, so let me see here. So one thing about using your own pumpkin, or at least in my experience, is that the batter is not nearly as thick as when you buy the pumpkin puree from the store, you know, in the can. All right, there are still a few chunks in here. So now I'm just going to divide this between my 3 pie plates. So now I'm just going to take my little leaves that I cut out, and I'm just going to lay them, whoops, kind of in the center of the pie. Just kind of in a whatever pattern you think looks pretty. I usually do 3 on each pie. And I actually have 1 extra, so I'm going to put it on this one. Whoops. Okay. Then I'm just going to do a little bit of an egg wash on these little cutouts, so that they will brown up nicely. And it's kind of difficult. Maybe I should have done it before I put them on there. I'm thinking I definitely should have done it before I put them on there, but too late now. I'll just do my best. And it will still be pretty. People will still love it. Pumpkin is, of course, a big favorite in our house. My favorite is actually cherry, but pumpkin really goes well. Okay, so I'll save that so I can put that on our other pie. Alright, so now I'm going to put these in the oven at 450 for, ooh, what a mess, for 15 minutes, and then we're going to turn the heat down and finish cooking it. Okay, after 15 minutes, oh, whoops, should be 425, not 450. So we're going to cook that for 15 minutes, then we're going to turn it down to 350, and then it usually takes another 35 to 45 minutes to finish cooking. Alright, so while those are cooking, I'm going to move this out of my way. I don't know if I need this for anything else. And I'm going to go ahead and start on my other pie. So I did do a crust in this larger pan. This pan has, I should have showed you before I put the pie crust in there, but it's got air holes in it, and it allows the crust to be more crunchy, I guess, more flaky, more crispy. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it makes the pie taste a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this before I roll out the top crust. Alright, so this pie is tricky because, like I said, everybody tends to go for the pumpkin pie. A lot of people like apple. I'm basically the only one who likes cherry. My mother-in-law loves cherry pie, but she won't be here this year. So I'm just going to do this one large pie, but I'm going to make it half pumpkin. I'm going to make it half apple, half cherry. Normally my daughter's here to kind of help me maneuver this, and I'm going to have to do it by myself this year, so we'll see how this works. So I actually have one of these pie gates. It's not quite big enough. Oh, actually it is if I turn it the other way. So I'm going to set this to just kind of help me here. And I'm going to start with the apple pie filling because it's a little bit thicker. Whoops. I went an apple on the wrong side, but that's okay. You can fix that. Alright. Oh, this isn't working too bad. Okay. I don't know. Well, I shouldn't have opened that second can of cherry pie filling because I'm not going to need it all. I can put some in here. Whoops. All right, I don't think I can get any more in there. Okay. So now I can pull out this little pie gate and the filling will stay mostly separated. Dog, you're really in a bad spot. I think I just I just dropped cherry pie filling on the back of the dog. Come here, puppy. Come here. He didn't even realize what happened. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, puppy. All right, so let me slide this out of the way. And roll out the top crust for this pie. Oh, what do I have here? I'm going to roll out the top crust for this pie. Okay. So I've got this. I've got my top crust. So I'm going to lay it over my pie. And I'm not going to cut any of the edges off. I'm just going to roll it all under it and just give it a nice thick edging. And then we'll go ahead and flute that when we're done. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and flute the edge of this pie. This crust is this edging is a lot thicker. This might not work out as well. Oh yeah, that's all right. Okay, now I totally do not remember. Okay, I think that's the apple side. Okay, so I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut some vent holes. And I'm going to hope that I'm marking this correctly. So I'm going to mark the apple side with an A. I know, very original. Mark the cherry side with the C. And then just put a few extra little vent holes in there. Then I'm going to take our egg that we mixed up a little bit ago. And I'm going to go ahead and put an egg wash on the top of this pie. So we've got about 4 more minutes on the first 15 minutes of our pumpkin pies. So then I'll take a look at them and I'll turn that down when my timer goes off. And then I'm going to, actually I need to go feed my animals, and then I'm going to start rolling out some dough to make my lemon tarts. Okay, and I normally sprinkle just a little bit of raw sugar over the top, which I think I have some, but I have no idea where it's at. So I'm just going to sprinkle just a hair, just a little white sugar. All right, so I turned the temp down on my pumpkin pies, and they have about 20-ish more minutes left. I went and fed all my animals. And I rolled out this last pie crust, and I'm going to cut it. I don't have any biscuit cutters, and I used to have, I think it was a Pampered Chef little bread tube that had like a scalloped flour looking edge, and I used to use that to make these tarts, but once again, I don't know where that is either. So I'm just going to use this lid, and I'm going to cut out some circles. And I'm going to put them in this little tart pan, which actually I'm going to spray first. And I'm going to make some lemon tarts with that. So I really like lemon. I like the lemon pie filling. But when you make a lemon meringue pie, you know how it will get kind of watery and it runs all over. And so one year I made these tarts just to try, and everybody loved them. So that's what I do every year now. And this is not going to work. Let me see. Let's try this. There, that works. I actually put a biscuit cutter set on the list of gifts that my children could get me for Christmas if they wanted. Because of course I don't want them to spend a bunch of money on me. But they always ask me what I want and I never know. And this year I had all kinds of ideas, so Biscuit cutters is one of them. I had a set of plastic ones at one time, but I melted them trying to do things with them I shouldn't have been doing. But that's okay. And then typically what I do with these is I prick the crust with a fork and I bake them for just a few minutes so that the bottom part of the dough starts cooking before I put the filling in, and then I put them back in the oven. And they tend to stay a little more crunchy that way, or a little more, they don't get soggy. And then I just use this little, I think this is probably a Pampered Chef tool, to just push these down into the little mini wells. I actually probably could have used the regular size lid and not the wide mouth, so I'm going to try that. And see how this works. Excuse me. Thank you for cleaning up my mess, but you're in my way. Oops. So my youngest sister is coming, as well as my kids and my dad tomorrow. The sister that's closest to me in age has to work. She's a nurse. And the next sister, they typically go to her husband's family. They typically go to her husband's side of the family for Thanksgiving. And my youngest sister, Erica, loves these lemon tarts. So I would never not make them when she's coming, even though I was going to make them anyway. Oh yeah, that's a much better size. So some of these will just have a little extra crust around the edge, and that's fine too. Okay, so I ended up going ahead and making 8 more. I've got just a little bit of dough left that I'm just going to throw in the compost. Okay, so I've never had this much trouble with pie dough before. This dough is really bready, I guess. I don't know what else to call it. So it really is like shrinking up. Another thing I'm struggling with is this electric oven. I had used a gas stove and oven for so long, I'm struggling with controlling the temperature on this thing, so I'm a little frustrated. So, turns out I do not like using an all butter crust for my pies. When I used it to make my chicken pot pies, it turned out beautifully. With my fruit pies, it just wasn't working. So I basically had to start over with several things. So I had to make some different pie crust. I've got new lemon tarts ready to go in the oven. My apple cherry is waiting for the pumpkin pie to be done, and the pumpkin pies are about ready to have the temperature turned down and move to their next phase of cooking. So while that's finishing, I'm going to start the next project. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to chop up and mix the ingredients to make my broccoli rice casserole. So I'm going to start with a little bit of butter. That's maybe a couple tablespoons. I'm just going to put this in the bottom of my dish. And I really don't measure any of this, so let's see, onion. Ooh, this onion is strong. Hopefully I'm not crying in a minute. So I'm going to dice this up and hopefully I don't dice my finger and add it. Oh goodness. Ooh, I'm probably going to be crying in just a minute, people. Hopefully it's not because I cut my finger. I'm having a rough day. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna add that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I need, oh, this is really dirty. All right, so I'm gonna rinse this off. I've never had a bag of celery that I bought at the store that was that dirty before. I'm just cutting off the flower leafy ends, and I'm going to put those in my bag for making stock. The little tiny pieces I'm going to give to my chickens, and the rest of this I am going to rinse this piece. All right, and then I'm just going to chop this up and add it to my mix here. I'm not actually going to add all of it to this. I don't need all of it in here. I am going to chop all of it up though and put it aside for my stuffing for tomorrow. Okay, so I've got my celery in my dish, and then I've got the rest of it chopped up here. I'll use that in my stuffing tomorrow morning. Okay. So I'm going to put this in the microwave and melt the butter and just kind of soften these veggies. So the butter's melted, the veggies are softened up a little bit. So I'm going to add a can of cream soup. I'm using cream of celery. You really could add whatever kind of cream soup that you prefer. I don't like mushrooms, so I tend to not use the cream of mushroom. Let's stir that in. And I'm going to add some minute rice. I'm going to add about 1.5 cans worth. This is how my mom always measured, so I don't really know what the actual measurements would be. One thing I did discover, this is the first year since we moved in here after the holidays at the very end of the year. This is the first year that I'm cooking this big meal here, and I just realized that our microwave is not as big as the one we had at our old house. So this pan that I'm using does not sit flat in the microwave. So, okay, so I've got all that mixed up. I've got some of my homegrown broccoli here from last summer when we were still in our old house. So I'm gonna microwave that because it's in kind of big chunks. I'm gonna microwave it a little bit so I can cut it up into smaller pieces. All right, so I really just needed this soft enough to cut. So I'm gonna go ahead, oh yeah, that's much better. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this into smaller pieces and throw it in my casserole. All right, I think this hunk is gonna go to the chickens. Put the rest of this in here. Gonna stir this broccoli now into the rest of this mixture. Oops. Throw broccoli around. One year this has been, I don't know, years ago, when my kids were little, I made some of this casserole, and for, I don't know, Christmas or whatever, and my sister said, "This is way too cheesy." And I said, well, you know, I don't think there's any such thing as too cheesy. But they were talking about it, and we finally realized I had put everything in it except the broccoli. So kind of defeats the point of broccoli rice casserole if you don't add any broccoli. but whatever. And of course I didn't have any in my house that I could just add. So we just had cheesy rice. All right, so I'm gonna get this cheese out of here. And I'm just using the store brand, like Cheese Whiz. And I'm gonna microwave this just a little bit so that it's easier to mix into the rest of my mixture. So at the place where we lived before, our trash day was normally Thursdays. I think the last year or two we lived there, it switched to Fridays, but so the week of Thanksgiving it was nice because all of my trash from my prep day on Wednesday and all of our trash from Thanksgiving Day went out on Friday morning and then it was gone, so that was great. Now our trash day is actually today and they pick up really early, so our trash is already gone. So now this will just have to sit for a week until next pickup. That's okay, we don't typically have a lot of trash. I just, you know, all this food trash I don't like to have sitting out if I don't need to. Okay. So got this cheese melted a little bit. I know this is probably like not even real cheese, but it smells good. And it tastes great in this, so. Stir this all up. All right, I wonder if I can get this to fit in this little square dish. I'm gonna find out. That way it can go ahead and go in the microwave, because after years of hosting Thanksgiving, I have things set, like this thing goes here, this thing goes here at this time, because this just finished, you know. So my mac and cheese goes in the oven when the turkey's done, this goes in the microwave, you know. So if this has to go in the oven, then we might have a problem, because I have to reconfigure my Tetris of Thanksgiving Day. I am making a terrible mess today. Oh my gosh. Throwing rice and stuff everywhere. Oh yeah, this is perfect. There we go. I wonder if I have a lid for this. I don't know. This is some of the stuff that I got from my dad. So I don't know if I don't think I had lids for them, but I have foil and that works too. All right, so the pumpkin pie that was on the bottom rack is done. So I took it out to cool. The ones, oh my gosh, I'm out of breath. The ones that are on the top rack needed a few more minutes, so I added some time to the timer, and those should be done in about 5 or 6 minutes. So the next thing I'm gonna start with our mac and cheese, right? Got the water on, add some salt. So I am trying, for the mac and cheese, I'm trying a recipe that I just came across. It's called Super Creamy Mac and Cheese. So we're gonna try this and see how the kids like it. All right, usually I put my mac and cheese in these aluminum foil pans. I only have one, so I must have used my others already and I just don't even remember for what. So I'll put one in the aluminum foil pan and I'll put one in a glass pan and it will work out fine. Okay, so this mac and cheese recipe calls for some onion. I am not going to deal with the, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna fuss with the tears, so I'm just going to use my little food chopper here. That's what I typically do. Just set that to the side and hope I can survive. Okay, I have 500 things on the counter. All right, so while the noodles finish cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and start letting my rolls rise so I can bake them. All right, so I'm just spraying my cooking sheets with some vegetable spray. And these are the dinner rolls, the freezer rolls that we made together a few weeks ago. So I'm just going to set these out here. And I'm going to treat them the same way as I would if they were actually the rose rolls, which is what I normally have done. So I'm going to set them out on my cookie tray. Then I'm just going to do a little spritz of spray on the top of each roll because I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, and this will help prevent it from sticking once they start rising. Okay, so I've got my plastic wrap. I'm going to go ahead and cover these trays of rolls, and then I'm just going to set them, oh my goodness, somewhere. All right. So I've got all of these trays wrapped. I'm going to set them over there on the other end of the counter, and we'll just leave them until these rolls have risen. The macaroni noodles are done, so we're going to start the rest of the process. We need 12 tablespoons of butter. Just going to use the pot that we boiled the noodles in. We're going to put that in there. Oops, that's more than a half. Put that there. Oops, we don't want the paper. And then once this is melted, we're going to add the onion and let that cook for about 5 minutes until the onions are soft. Getting them all over everything. All right, so I'm going to add, I can't do math today, but I think I need 3/4 of a cup of flour. Is that right? Let's see, I need 3 tablespoons times 4, I need 12 tablespoons. 3 tablespoons is 1/4. Oh no, I need a whole cup, okay. So there's a half. I'm going to stir this in and cook it about a minute. I don't know what is wrong with my brain today. Okay, so now we need to add 4 cups of milk to start with. Whoops, I'm spilling it all over the stove. We're going to stir that in and let it start thickening up. And once it starts to thicken, then we're going to add the other 4 cups of milk. So I just realized these instructions end after you make the sauce, but it doesn't ever talk about putting the noodles back in. So I guess noodles just go in at the end. Actually, I think I need to look up the rest of the recipe. I think I need to look the recipe up again because it tells me to cook it to bake it at 350, but it doesn't say how long. So I think I'm missing part of the instructions. Ooh, look at that. So here is our half apple, half cherry. It looks amazing. Set that up there for now. I'm gonna put my oven, I'm going to put my oven at 350 so that when I'm ready with this mac and cheese, I can put the first batch in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and bake one today and have it ready for leftovers, and then I'll bake the second one tomorrow that we'll eat with our dinner. And I just realized I do not have my cheese shredded. Oops. I was getting the cheese to start shredding it, and then I don't know what I did. Oh, I started working on the rolls. All right, so I added that other 4 cups of milk. And we're gonna bring that to a simmer. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and start shredding my cheese. All right, so I don't actually have extra sharp, I just have white cheddar. So that's what I have, that's what we're gonna use. All right, so that was about 3½. So now I need to add 4 cups of chicken stock to our sauce. Alright, so I added the chicken stock and now we need to let that cook about 3 or 4 minutes. Oops, there's a piece of paper here. We don't want labeling our cheese. Alright, there's that. And then we also need 12 ounces of cream cheese. So I went and got my great big stock pot because I don't think I'm going to have room to add the cheese in that sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer that so I can start adding the cheese. So it says to add the cheese a cup at a time and stir that until it melts and then add the next cup. I'm going to just do this by hand. I'm not going to measure out a cup every time. Alright, so now that our cheese is all melted in, we're going to add the cream cheese. Alright, so I am going to, I could not find the recipe that I looked up. I don't know where I found it. So I am just going to figure out the ending. So I'm going to go ahead and add my noodles to the cheese sauce instead of adding the cheese sauce to my noodles. So I don't want to spill it all over the counter. I already have a big enough mess to clean up. So I don't know if I miscalculated something or if this is just how it looks until you bake it, but it seems kind of runny to me. So I don't know if I need to add some more cheese or what I should do. Since I can't find the rest of the recipe, I think I'm going to add a little bit more cheese. Alright, and since the cheese that I had was white and not yellow, I'm going to go ahead and add some Velveeta, which is what I had actually bought to make this. That's how my mother-in-law makes it. Before I found this recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of this Velveeta to give it a little bit of a yellow color. And hopefully this little bit will be enough to thicken up this sauce a little bit more. And maybe that's what I did. Maybe I didn't let it thicken long enough. Or maybe I didn't let it cook long enough, you know, and get thick enough. But we will see. I'm sure it will be good because honestly, how can you go wrong with noodles and cheese, right? Oh, I don't want this to stick to the bottom though. I haven't tasted this yet. I'm going to get a spoon and I'm just going to taste a little bit of the sauce because it looks like it could use some more pepper. And more salt. I'm not usually a big macaroni and cheese person. I mean, I like it, but it's not really something that I just crave, but this is really good. All right, let me get a clean spoon and let's give it another taste. Yeah, I think it needs still just a little more pepper. Ooh, that's really good. Once I get this dished up, I'm going to take a little break and then I'll come back and finish the last items on my list. I'll still need to bake one of the mac and cheese pans. I need to peel and slice and cook my sweet potatoes so they're ready for me to fry tomorrow. I need to peel and do all my stuff with my regular white potatoes to make mashed potatoes. And feel like I'm missing something. I'll have to look at my list. But I need to take a break. I haven't eaten anything except these little things I've tasted, and I'm feeling a little puny. Oh yeah, there's a big hunk of it right there. Oh my gosh, I have so many dirty dishes over here, and my dishwasher is full. I'm gonna run it while I'm taking a break here in a little bit to eat my lunch so that it's not running while we're talking. I'm gonna put this cheese away first. It's weird, this actually looks like kind of like a big pot of potato soup, which is sort of funny. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yummy. So I'm just gonna start dividing this up between the pans. Of course, I'm gonna end up getting it everywhere. The biggest part of it's done. Honestly, baking it, I mean, everything's cooked, right? So we just need to bake it together, but you put some panko breadcrumbs. I need a break. You put some panko breadcrumbs on the top, but I don't know if you're supposed to mix them with anything. I don't know if you put them on right before you bake it. So like, I don't know, the one that I'm gonna cook tomorrow, should I put the breadcrumbs on like right before I put it in the oven? I'm not sure. I'll do some more digging in a little while and see if I can find the recipe again. Ooh, these pans are gonna be really full. Just dig out the rest of the noodles. Okay, so I've got both of these pans really full, and it is thickening up as it cools a little bit, so I think that's hot when I cook it, that it'll absorb all that sauce, or the sauce will thicken up, or whatever I'm trying to say. I think it would be perfect. So I'm gonna slide these back where somebody cannot reach them while I'm taking my break. And I'm gonna rinse that pot out, get the dishwasher started, and then I'll be back in a little bit to finish up the rest of my items.